Hello and welcome to New Game Mondays. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
And today we'll be talking about Terra Formars.
It's a play on words because people like puns.
And it's an anime-based game, again, from Japanime Games.
Alright, so the main synopsis of this game, much like the anime, is you select a hero, and it is your objective to beat up the cockroach people. We don't know the specific name of them. They're literally just called cockroaches.
They look like giant mutant human cockroaches.
Yeah, so long story short synopsis of the anime is there is a virus that came from Mars onto Earth, and it has a 100% kill rate for anybody who's infected. So they're trying to go to Mars to get the virus from its base nature, take it back to Earth, and create a cure. But these cockroaches, unfortunately, are killing anybody who have gotten there, so they have mutated themselves in order to fight the cockroaches.
So the whole game is just a big fight. The goal is to kill a certain number of cockroaches, which is in the enemy deck.
Depending on how many players.
Depending on how many players. Your deck will be made up of your hero, and then any support cards you buy along the way. Support cards can be either your squad or equipment.
So the main objective is to be the person with the most points at the end of the game. You get points by killing cockroaches. So the two cards that he listed previously are either equipments, which are cards that will be on your side of the field that help you each one of your turns, or squad cards, which are one-time uses. There are always going to be a lot of these cards being used, so you're probably going to have to shuffle through the deck multiple times. So just think about that when you're possibly playing. You might see the card being encountered more than once, so don't expect that it's just going to be, oh, will I get this card? It's like, oh, do I have the resources to get this card?
And the way you get these cards and the way you damage the cockroaches is off of dice rolls.
So each player on their turn will roll 6 of these dice. They have ranging anywhere symbols of fists, stars, or little serum things. There's not a token for those, but little serums.
And danger.
And danger.
Don't forget the danger.
We'll mention the danger in a little bit. Your stars and your serums are your two major currencies. Stars are mainly meant for cards, but can also be used for player abilities. Serums can be used for cards, player abilities, or buying an extra die. And the extra die has more rewards on it, but you do have to spend some resources to get it.
Now, this game is not quite a cooperative game.
It is partial cooperative, but mainly competitive.
A lot of the abilities are geared towards damaging the cockroaches. However, there are some that are more of a detriment to the other players.
So, for instance, one of the characters that I was playing more commonly is I can push somebody off of the cockroach I'm fighting. Now, the reason why I would want to do that is because when fighting a cockroach, there are 2 different types of rewards to be gotten. There is the reward given to the player who kills it, which is victory points. And then there is spoils, which is given to all the other players who are on the cockroach when it dies. Basically just looting the body after it's dead. But, for instance, the character, as I said I was playing, I can push somebody off of my cockroach to make sure they don't get any of the reward.
Another character that's played, as soon as a cockroach is killed, any cockroach, they can steal one of the loot.
So, effectively, that player doesn't have to be on a cockroach, but they can circumvent it around. There are cards that do that same thing, but that person's ability just allows them to do that.
The only thing that I found I would change, our house rule, like we do with Cowboy Bebop's game, would be a hand size.
Yes, so effectively, while we were playing the game, what happens on your turn is you roll the 6 dice, you count how many stars, fists, serums, and possible dangers you get, and then you spend them on cards to add to your inventory or to your hand. Now, it seemed as though there is one character in particular who was able to buy a massive amount of cards over the other players, giving them an unfair advantage to the game. For instance, when we were playing, I had 2 cards on my field and 2 cards in my hand. He, who was playing the aforementioned character, had
Upwards
7 cards on the field and about 10 cards in hand.
Yeah, upwards. I think the most cards I had him play at one point was 20.
Oh, no. You did not have 20. You had 20 in total.
In total.
Yes. But there was just a massive difference between the two different type of abilities.
One reason why I wanted to do a hand size because the support cards, your teammates, your squad. Sorry, I said 3 names there. Your squad cards can be played at any moment. So I could have just gone 10 squads. Okay, I get 3 extra turns now.
So, for instance, there is this card in question. I don't know how well it can aim towards the camera.
We'll throw a picture.
But at the bottom, it states that the active player rolls 6 less dice on that turn, effectively getting rid of their turn if they don't have anything else to support themselves. If that active player has that card or other cards like it, they can just effectively lock down anybody else. Now, granted, we were playing one-on-one, so I could be his only valid target. If we were playing multiple people, then yes, he'd have a lot of other things to go for. But the effectiveness that one player... Because this game definitely seems to wean more on the side of who has the most cards. If one player can effectively hoard most of the cards, then it does seem a little bit unfair.
So, aside from that, this game is fast and fun.
The one caveat being is, as mentioned, like this card, they mainly just have symbols, so we had to refer a lot to the listed instructions, because on the back of the instructions list the descriptions of what everything can do. Now, granted, if you're more experienced and you play this game a lot, then yeah, you can tell exactly what everything does, but if you're relatively new, like when we started playing this for a review, we had to refer back to the list every single time to make sure we weren't getting everything incorrect, because some symbols looked like they were close to each other, so we didn't entirely know if it was discard to or draw to or something like that. Not to say that other games don't have their own things that you have to refer back to, but to have it where every single time you have to look, okay, what's the number? What does this mean? They give you plenty enough space that you can just write it down, but I guess it's just when you can read it and recognize it, it's definitely for later.
So, if you like card-based fighting games, I definitely suggest this. Also, if you like the anime, I would suggest this as well.
It honestly only took us about 15 minutes, and even with reading the instructions to find out which cards did what, it didn't really take us that long. As we said a little bit, the little gripes would be possible hand size and stuff like that, but it also seems like it is a more entertaining game when you have more players than just 2, because you're not just focusing on one person, you've got to worry about the rest of the group, and sometimes you may even need to cooperate in order to beat a stronger monster rather than just fighting it by yourself.
There is one monster that negates looting for the entire board as long as he's out.
So you want to beat up that guy first. If not, then you get nothing if you help fight a monster, which is obviously not a good objective to the game.
And then lastly, the replay value is pretty good here, because between the 4 different captains and the amount of squad cards, you probably won't get the same hand 2 games in a row for a while.
Probably not, especially if you know, like, you can have a certain playstyle. Oh, I like having more money, or I like having more fists and whatnot. But you also gotta think, hey, if that person does 3 punches on their turn, maybe that person will only do 2 punches, so maybe I need a little bit more fists. So you can change up your playstyle depending on what other people are also trying to do.
So yeah, in the end, this is definitely Nerdz approved. Go out and get Terra Formars by Japanime Games.